We have a special guest this evening. This is Eileen Smith. Eileen, as I said, is a special guest, and she was the mother of, for those of you who aren't aware of her, she was the mother of Laura Smith, the young woman who died tragically a year ago, what can euphemistically be called a botched abortion. Since then, Eileen has single-handedly taken on the man who called himself doctor by getting him removed as a physician in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. She also pursued him in the criminal court in Barnstable County by persuading the district attorney to indict him for involuntary manslaughter. She has also decided to become what I consider her to be the John Walsh of the pro-life movement by bringing the tragedy of so-called safe legal abortions to the American public. Someone once said, in fact it was Napoleon Hill, that persistence is to success as carbon is to steel. Eileen, if nothing else, is persistent, and I can assure you that she is very successful in her mission and will continue to be so. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Eileen Smith.
I just want to tell you, I have to give the credit to a higher authority for everything that happened. That God has been with me every step of the way and given me favor where people told me I would have no favor. So in that applause, I'm sure you're thanking God along with me. I just want to tell you that with great tragedy comes great grace, and I have been the recipient of such a great grace upon my life. My daughter died September 13th of 07. A little over a year ago, we just had her year anniversary. People were worried about me, saying, are you going to be able to handle it? And I said to them, how can I miss her any more than I already do? Our phone rang, and the caller ID said it was Laura calling us. We were always so excited to hear from her. She was such a joy and a bubble. She was precious to us, as all your children are, but she had an effervescence and excitement about life that was unmatched. But when we answered the phone, instead of hearing Laura's voice, I heard screaming and crying. I didn't recognize the voice. It was guttural and crying. I did make out 4 words, though. The words were Laura, emergency room, not breathing, and abortion. To hear one of those words related to your child strikes terror in the heart of a parent. To hear all 3 in the same sentence ended my life as I knew it. My heart sank, my head tilted, and my life ceased the way it was. Laura came into our life when she was 4.5 years old. We adopted her. Someone was getting rid of the child. I know I'm at the right place to say people get rid of children all the time, but Laura happened to be 4.5 years old when her adopted parents wanted to get rid of her. Laura came into my life with a phone call. I couldn't bear the thought that someone wanted to dispose of a child, but they had adopted her at 2.5, and she didn't work out in that family. After 2 years of abuse, they sent her to me, and it was our joy. We thought we were rescuing her, but Laura brought a dimension to our lives that we never experienced. When I got that phone call, we didn't know Laura was pregnant. Laura just recently got engaged. Her fiance just recently got shipped off to Iraq. And a short while later, Laura found herself pregnant. It was our joy to have Laura living with us the last 2 months of her life. She came for a visit. We live on the Jersey Shore now. And I thank God for that time together because it was precious. We have precious memories, and it was so good of the Lord to send her there for 2 months. Didn't notice she was pregnant. The thought never entered my mind. We brought her home. 5 days later, we got the phone call. What had happened is Laura went to the abortion clinic as soon as she got home. And I'll never understand that Laura was raised in a Christian home. We weren't nominal Christians. We weren't Easter and Christmas Christians. We were very active within the church. I raised Laura in a pro-life home. Laura was pro-life her whole life, and this is what the shocker of it all was. Not only did my daughter die, but she died having an abortion. There's questions I'll never have answers for, but the ones that I did find out, I was determined to get the answers that I could find out. We immediately came up to the Cape. We threw a few clothes in the car, and I never left. For 8 months, I stayed on the Cape. I was determined to find out what happened to my daughter. How could this possibly happen? 5 minutes after my daughter died, I prayed to the Lord. I said, God, please bring something good out of this that I can bear it. Me standing before you today is an answer to that prayer. It was a prayer that I had no idea how God would answer it. And that praise goes to God. But I have been traveling all over the country telling Laura's story. Just a week ago, I heard that 2 babies' lives were saved, one in San Antonio, Texas, and one in Hyannis, Massachusetts, as a result of Laura's story. I'm honored to be here with all you people because over a year ago, you would never find me here. I was never involved in pro-life, even though I said I was pro-life. And I was definitely pro-life. I was anti-abortion. I was pro-life in my heart, and that's where it stayed. I never did anything. And I'll tell you some of the reasons why I didn't do anything. You would think, well, you're a Christian, you're pro-life, you're active in the church, why not? Well, one of the reasons I'll tell you is that I never heard about it in the churches that I went to. Really, it was never talked about. You know, maybe it was mentioned in a sentence in between gluttony and adultery, but it was never really lifted up and talked about. The sanctity of life, the evil of abortion.